What's your idea of a perfect retirement? You know, uh, some people just see themselves sitting on a beach. Some people see doing nothing. But I tell you what, nothing gets old fast. Sitting on a beach gets old fast. So you got to look beyond that. You got to be realistic with what you're doing. Me, I wanted to just play with cars, have a house where I could play with cars, and do something on the side to pay for those cars. And I could be doing that till I'm 85, 90. And I'm doing that. I got my cars. I got this little eBay business on the side. And yeah, I mean, there you go. And I also just do a full time job to keep me healthy. But there you go. I'm semi retired. I just did some air quotes. Semi retired at 45 there, and actually, I tried the whole beach thing. I tried the cruise thing, the beach thing, the doing nothing thing, and honestly, 2 months of that, and I was like, whatever, we're not doing this. So yeah, that was no, I'm not interested in it. Some people love it. Some people that's their idea. Some people they want to see the world and do this and do that and go to here, maybe check off 100 amusement parks or something like that. I just want to build stuff. That's all I've ever done. I wanted to be an engineer, but I looked at the cost of being an engineer and knowing that I'd always have to do schooling. I looked at a couple careers like that and knowing I'd always have to do schooling and always have to be up to date and always screw around, and that took the appeal rate out of that. Um, so whatever. But I still like building stuff. I mean, the thing about building stuff is I don't care how good you are, I don't care how thrifty you are, building stuff costs money. Building cars costs money. And the very few examples of somebody building a project and they sell it where they make a profit, it almost never happens. You actually end up using price throwing 2 or 3 times into that project than if you just bought the project. That whole built not bought thing. Built not bought's cool. Built not bought means that you were able to do it and did it and whatever. But honestly, built is more expensive than bought. You can buy somebody else's build for probably about half the price, kind of deal. But it's one of those things where I like building stuff, and but it's crazy expensive to build stuff. You're gonna drop like 5, 10, 15 grand into something that's really worth like 7, or you could replace, or you could drive it for like 7 or 5. But it's still fun to do those projects. I mean, everybody needs a vice, everybody needs a hobby, so whatever. But that's my idea of retirement. It's just building rides, and I just needed something to support the back end of that. So like if I've been doing it for years. I would tear apart a car. I got a Ford 9 inch right now. So I got a 78 F-150. The thing had mold growing out of it. Uh, Sold the engine for, God, like $300 because I didn't even try turning it over because it's probably full of water. I still had the transmission, or no, sold the transmission in the transfer case for like, oh, I don't know, 250. No, like 300. Sold both those. Sold the front axle for another 300. I don't know. I know how I did this. I ended up spending and then tore apart the frame and scrapped the frame and all that because the body was shot. Obviously, it's sitting in the woods, and it was totally gone. But yeah, so that 9 inch, at all said and done, I spent like $50 on it. Okay, and there you go. That's my idea of playing around. So I got $50 in a 9 inch. That's probably worth 300. So there you go. But I could do that over and over and over. Now, is there profit in that? No. No. It's so much work. If you put an hourly in there, you're way in the red. You're even further than $50 in the red if you put hourly in there. If you were to like try to pay yourself to do that, but So something like that, but still you're getting the axle for next to nothing. You can do this with engines too. You take a vehicle, you scrap the vehicle, and you get the engine for like $100 kind of deal. You're still spending money, you're still spending tons of time, but you're able to do that. Now it's possibly to get, like, I got this Metro and this T-Bird. I'm throwing the two together. I'm doing that when the snow flies, because I want to build this business throughout the winter, and then probably February into March, I'm going to take it slow on the business. I'm only going to list like maybe 3 or 4. I'm probably only going to list like an hour a day. Then I'm going to be out in the garage playing around with the toys, building these things up, because part of that is I got them taking up 2 parking spots right now, and the other part of that is I want to finish these projects. So I got a half finished S10 and I got a half finished Metro right now that I want to finish up. But all that takes money, so you got to make money for your projects, because I don't want to dig into my 40-hour DOE to do that, and I don't want to dig into anything else to do that. But that's my day retirement, is playing around with vehicles. And and I knew this like 15 years ago when I was like playing around and driving truck and living out at my folks' place, or I also lived in an apartment. It was $250 a month, folks, because we were just splitting the lot rent. The place was paid for. It was falling apart, but it was paid for. It's like 1985, and it was falling apart, and it was grandfathered in, and I was just a roommate in there. So I was only paying like $250s. But that being said, I didn't have anywhere to work on vehicles at all. So I knew this. So I knew I wanted a house that would have enough room to play with the vehicles, and I'd basically live there until I dropped. And that's where I'm at, But that's my day retirement. It's just playing with cars and, building some cool things, and there you go. And no reason to build just cool things, just because I want to build some cool things. And just because I've always done that. I've always built things, but then the thing is you run up in a space limitation. So you can have a cool vehicle, it's all ready to go, and maybe the engine goes, and then you're like, well, I really should, I don't want to drop $3 or $4 grand into another engine. Do I want to change vehicles? So I would change vehicles, and then I'd sell the other thing for like $300 or $400, even though I had probably $2 or $3 grand into that, and I would do that, and then I'd jump another grand or two into the new thing, and drive that around until I found something else, and rinse and repeat, and losing money left and right in that deal, because I couldn't keep the vehicles. I didn't have any room. I only had like 2 parking spots to play with, and when you're doing that, you quickly find out, even if you part things out, you quickly find out, I lost 800 here, I lost 1,200 there, I lost another 800 here, but I enjoy doing it. So everybody needs advice, and I can justify that because I enjoy doing it. That being said, I knew I was losing money here because of the space, so I bought the house with all that, and that was my day of retirement. Is tearing these things apart and having room to keep the parts around, or sell the parts to lessen the expense, kind of deal. But yeah, that's my day of retirement. So what's yours? I mean, because everybody says sitting on a beach, buying an island, something like that, and it's great and all until you actually do it for a month or two, and then you actually realize, if you're gonna do it what I did. Just recommendation here: do what I did. Do it for 2 months, maybe even 3 months, and then once you do it for 3 months, ask yourself, is this what I want to do? Because if it's not, it's not. I mean, if you can't stand doing it for 3 months, how are you going to stand doing it for 30 years? So you make your own thing. And if you find out it's not going to work, oh well. Maybe you do a part-time job. Sorry about that. Maybe you do a part-time job on the side, just so that you have some spending money. Which will maybe if you do a part-time job, maybe at like 60 years old, you're all set up, you're ready to go, everything's all perfect, you can retire today. Kind of deal. And but you want to do a project. Maybe you want to build a boat. Maybe you want to build boats. You've always dreamed of building a boat and taking that out on the lake and all this. That's great. maybe you still do a part-time job, or maybe you even do a full-time job, and you build the boat on the weekends, and that just keeps you going. And you do that for 20 years, and then that way you can push your whatever, your 401k or whatever. I'm not counting on it. Your 401k or whatever out to 72 or 75 or whatever the heck it's going to be. I'm guessing it's closer to 80. When I hit, it'll probably be closer to 80 if it's even around. And you push that out and you get the max benefit of that. But you're also working the part-time job. What the part-time job does is, or full-time job, whatever, is it keeps you on a schedule, because that's a big thing. Sleeping in till noon every day gets old. You'll lose days, I guarantee it. You'll lose entire days. And if you ask yourself, what did I do today? Well, I woke up at 1 o'clock. I watched 5 hours of TV. And then I played games for 3 hours. And then I took a nap at 5 p.m. I woke up at 9 p.m. I watched some more TV, and I did some laundry, and that was about it. And that's all I did today. You're going to have days like that. I don't have days like that. But you could have days like that where it's like, what did I do today? I watched a whole bunch of TV. I did the laundry because I had to get done, and then I did this kind of deal. And that's all you did for the day. And you do that day after day after day after day, and before you know it, the entire week has gone to doing nothing. Now, I've done that just to stay cheap, just to not spend money and such. You just watch a ton of TV and you can stay cheap. If that's what you want to do, great and all. But you lose days. You lose days. So if you have any kind of job, any kind of obligation, if you tell everybody that you're going to walk the mall at 7 a.m. and you're going to be there at 7 a.m. and walk for 3 hours with your little group or whatever, there you go. You got a thing that you do. If you tell yourself you're going to be at the gym from 10 to 2, there you go. You're going to be there at 10 or 2. You have some kind of a schedule. And for me, the best way for me to get on that schedule is to have a job. And so I just have my little full-time job, and then I have my eBay job, and I just keep busy kind of deals. Because otherwise I would be like watching videos all day. I'd be going and playing 9-ball for 8 or 10 hours just because it relaxes me. I jump into my car. I used to do that too. I jump into my car and just drive. I would just drive for like 6 or 8 hours. Before I became a OTR truck driver, that's how I used to relax. I'd get stressed. I just jump in my car, take a drive, and drive for like 6 or 8 hours. No real direction, no real plan, like I'm going to Chicago, and just go make a weekend trip out of it, because I'm from mid-Michigan. Chicago's probably 5 or 6 hours away. So yeah, we just drive to Chicago and just do something, just make a day out of it. Get out of work, leave about 1 a.m., get there about 7 a.m., play around in town, and then just explore, play around in town, and then go back. Maybe even the same day kind of deal, and make a day out of it. But I used to do that all the time. It gets old. That stuff kind of gets old. Growing up, my folks are great. Growing up, we used to do a vacation every summer. We used to go drive. We used to drive cross country. I've been to all the sites, and all that fun stuff. And it's like, it's great and all, but it gets old. I'm telling you, that kind of stuff gets old. Now, if that's your goal, that's your dream, do it. But you got to think about that. And to get to that point where you even think about that, you need to have a plan in place where you put money away towards that. I don't care how you do it. The best way to do it is to put money into something automatically. Have a direct transfer or a direct withdrawal or whatever, where when you get that check, I still do it. It's $200. I get that check. It goes into an account. That account builds up to about $5 or $6 grand. Then I transfer that account or that amount into something else. I ain't gonna get into it, but into something else. Then I, let that thing build up again, and then it hits whatever 5 or 6, and I throw it in the thing again. And that's also my emergency fund. I let it build up to $5 or $6 grand. If something happens, I got $5 or $6 grand. in the absolute, oh my God, something happened when I'm down to like, I just transferred and it's down like $200, then I might have to backpedal a little bit. But for the most part, that's what I do every single time. And that gives me a nice little retirement. I've been doing that since I was like 18. I'm 45 now. And I'm still doing it. And I'll be doing it till I'm like 70 or whatever. And part of that is, even part of that is you got to have the money to put in to build up. But you can do it whatever you want. You can invest in whatever, but do something. And my best way that I found is to have an automatic transfer where I don't have to think about it. It's done. It goes in. And then I just got to peek at it every now and then. Oh, it's hit it, and throw it in there. And then, maybe I only do $5,000 and I keep an extra 1,000 in the account so that it's good. But it's one of those deals where I don't make a lot of money, folks. This full-time job, I make like $40,000, So I'm not making a lot of money. This is an eBay business. I'm starting it out. Everything I put in goes to growth. And it's going to be like that for like the next 3 or 4 years, where everything I put in goes to growth. And I know that. It's going to take years. I'm not going to see a whatever profit. And that's good. That's realistically, that's the smart way to do this. You don't want to, I don't like loans, but if I took out, if I took like a $40,000 loan, I could get there in year one. That being said, I wouldn't have 4 years of experience before I got to that point. Before I just needed all the equipment. I'd rather build it up, take my time, build it up over those years, and get there that way, and go through all the mistakes and learning experiences that you're going to have with the cheap stuff instead of getting it with the expensive stuff. Because my end goal here with the business anyway is to do big things. But that's me, But right now I'm playing around with the decorative items and clothing and a whole bunch of decor and sporting goods. I play with everything right now. Everything I get my hands on. I do got a niche down, but whatever. Having a whole bunch of niches keeps me selling year round. But I'm messing with a whole bunch of things. But I know what my end goal is. So you always have to have an end goal. You always got to be thinking about, how am I going to retire? Nobody lives forever, and all this stuff, Things break. Nothing lasts forever. Things break down. Also, don't just think of yourselves. Think of your family members. My mother and father are in their 60s. What's going to happen to them in 20 or 30 years? How's that going to affect me? Kind of deal. How do I plan for that? You got to plan for that. All right? You got to figure this out too. And start planning for that if you could do it in your 20s, great, because you really do. You always have to have that in the back of mind too. You got to be thinking about that also when you're considering retirement. So you retire at 60. You want to just go to the island, but you got an 80 or a 90-year-old, maybe not 90, but an 80. Let's say you're 60 and you got an 80-year-old mother. Well, you can go play on the island on the beach, but you still got to have a plan for her. Kind of deal. You got to have that plan in place. Otherwise, you got to have the plan in place, because stuff does happen. And if you don't have any kind of plan in place, stuff can happen. So that's part of that. But just have a plan. Have a plan when you're 20. What am I going to do? If I put $100 a week away, what's that going to add up to with compound and all the other stuff? Or investments. If I put this investment in here and I put this in the market and just let it sit, what's that going to do? And people have been saying this for years and years and years. It's not a secret. It's not a secret. People have been saying this since forever. Put the money in this, do this, and forget about it. And not everything's perfect. Stuff does go belly up. So you got to diversify a little bit. You don't want to have everything in Superboy coin, because Superboy coin might turn around and go to zero tomorrow, kind of deal. Or whatever. Or Superboy coin might go through the roof. Who knows? But the point is that you've only invested a percentage into Superboy coin. You haven't done your whole thing into Superboy coin, and if that goes belly up, oh well. You lost 10% versus, oh my God, kind of deal. And stock markets or whatever, tech stocks or whatever, goes belly up, you're not totally screwed. Who knows? You can't figure, but you got to figure for retirement. You always have to figure for retirement. I don't care if you plan on working until you die. I do. I'm going to work until they tell me I can't. Just how I am. I don't. And my point of work is, when I say work, I mean just be active, be going to something every day, be doing something, okay? I don't mean doing a job I hate. At this point, I'm in a position where if I lose my job, I'm going to another one tomorrow. I'm not in a point where I can actually, the business is good enough, but I want to go to a job and still do a 40-hour job. Now, where I'm at right now, I love it. I'll say that right now. Where I'm at right now, I love it because the schedule works perfectly for what I do. I work nights. I resell days. And it works great. If somebody wants to pick something up during the day, great. I'm available 10 to 3. And I set those hours because I don't want to play around after that. It's midday. If they can't make it, whatever. And if they can't do that on a Saturday, whatever, we'll figure something out. But those are my basic hours where somebody wants to pick up something locally, I'm available. Just like a business would be. A business, you wouldn't expect a business to be open at 10 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night kind of deal. You expect them to be open 9 to 5, and in my case, 10 to 3. But it's one of those deals where if I want somebody to pick up something, great. Do you work yada yada? Yes. Okay, well, if you work Monday through Friday and you can't make 10 to 3 Monday through Friday, we can do 10 to 3 on Saturday. Can't make it Saturday, we can do 10 to 3 on Sunday. Can't do it the other way, probably not for you. And you just turn that down. Simple as that. Because honestly, unless they're working 7 days straight, and I worked 7 days straight before. I worked a job where I was working from 3 a.m. to 9 p.m. and I had an hour drive. So I left at 2 and I got home about 10 and I slept a couple hours, but I was making crazy money. And the thing about that is I was making like 90 hours and all I was doing was welding cages, welding like steel cages to make, it was making cones for like a transition. So the big concrete pipe would go from like 4 feet to 3 feet. And then there's a transition there. So I was just making the cone things that did that. And I did a couple other things, but that was like 90% what I did. But I just made the steel cages that went inside the forms for that. And I just welded them up using a stick welder. And anyway, making crazy money. Employer was making crazy money. Everybody was happy. But when I got out of work, I'd have to go to like Myers to cash my check. Because nothing was open. So I'm cashing like, it was stupid. I was cashing like crazy money at Myers because nothing was open. Myers was open 24 hours back then. So, but it's good to have something like that. So in that situation, I couldn't work 10 to 3 because I was doing 7 days a week doing that, and making money, but on the side of it, I never had time to do anything. So I let that one go and moving on to something else. And I learned the lesson where you can make tons of money, but you still want to have a plan for a side thing. Like my budget, the house, the utilities, everything else is, I need to make, I think it's 6. I need to make $600 a week. And I make a little bit more than that. Not a whole bunch more. That's the goal. The goal is to work enough to get by, but not kill yourself. And put some stuff aside. If you can do those 3 things, you'll be good. You don't want to get into a job, and I've been there, where you're working after work. Not only working after work, you're stressing after work. I don't want to ever be in that position, which is why I didn't pursue an engineering deal, and I didn't pursue being a mechanic, and I didn't pursue, this, that, and the other thing. I knew that I could work with my hands, make money, and pretty much clock out when I need to clock out. Now, that's not saying anything bad about people that do run a department or managers or supervisors are up there. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Great. Make your money that way. But if you hate doing it, just me, I'm not there. I'd rather be a grunt than doing that and make my money on the side. Maybe live a little bit less below my means. Maybe knock my standards down. Than stress at this job I hate and never ask myself, why am I doing this? And back to the retirement thing. When you're doing that retirement thing, when you get to a thing where you're doing a retirement thing, I don't think you should ever quit. Like, I think you should always do something, even a part-time job, where if things go, if you have somebody just treating you like crap, not a customer, I'm talking about your boss or an employee, and giving you an ultimatum, I need you to do this. Well, the office space, we really should, kind of deal, and all those. Can you come in on Saturday? Well, you know what? I need you to come in on Sunday too, and all that kind of from Office Space, from the movie Office Space, not the show. Yeah, I ain't getting into that. I can't believe they got that. But from the movie Office Space. But yeah, you'll be the guy who burns the place down. You're so stressed because sun goes down. You'll be the guy who burns the place down. And whatever works. But you don't want to put yourself in the position where you're so stressed that you like go off on somebody that's totally unrelated because your work has stressed you out. No. You want to still do something, but you don't want to go nuts doing it. You want to do something that keeps you moving, but you don't have to think. And that's my perfect idea of retirement. Do your little hobby or whatever on the side. That's going to cost money. How do you support that money need? You just do any kind of job to support that. And everybody's going to be like, well, you actually don't have to work. You actually don't have to have a job. I have a problem with that because it's a lot easier if you plan on spending, if you plan on living on, let's go with $2,000 a month. It's a lot easier to live on $2,000 a month if you're making $1,000 a month. Instead of that losing an extra $1,000 every month. Because it adds up. That $1,000 that you're spending to live on it at 65 and not doing anything is going to add up. It's not compounding anymore. All right, you're taking from the pot. You're not putting into the pot. So if you can slow how much you're putting into the pot at 65 or whatever, let's call it 65, that's time where you're prolonging it. Maybe you actually only have 20 years of actual realistic expenses. And then you take further from that because you're spending money going on trips, going whatever, doing things. You're spending money. So you're taking about that pot even further. If you're making money while you're spending that money, you can slow that and push that out even further. And, important thing, it keeps you from sitting on your butt all day. And which, I'm not going to go into it, but personally, I feel it's unhealthy to sit on your butt all day, watch TV all day, do whatever all day. You need breaks. I'm sitting on my butt right now. I know it's kind of hypocritical, but I'm sitting on my butt right now. But you need breaks and such, but you still want to be active. You still want to have a schedule. And the best way to have a schedule is to have a job, is to have an obligation where you say, I need to go here for 8 hours a day and do this. Now, this is stupid work. This is I don't care work. This is whatever work. This is work that's not going to stress me out. Like when I'm like 65 in like 20 years, I want to do fast food. I've never done fast food ever. And it's just one of those things. I've never done it, so I'll do fast food. And honestly, I might be the guy who tells the customer to screw off. But one of those, you get some total whatever. And I don't know, maybe in 20 years robots will be doing it all, and all that stuff. Who knows? But I've always wanted to do fast food just to do it. I've always wanted to run something like a customer service job, uh, uh, run like a car rental job, just because. Maybe be a car dealer, just because. Throw that in your experience pile, the just because pile. Are you making any money? No, not really. Is it worth your time? Yeah, it's keeping you active. There's a lot of benefits to having a part-time job or a full-time job when you're 60 plus, besides the amount. Because at that time, if you did it right, you should be able to pretty much not worry about it. And what you're making from that money is, like I always say, your gym's paying for you. You're going to the gym, your gym's paying for you. It's not the other way around. You're not going to the gym and spending, let's go cheap. Let's go $300 a month. You're not spending $300 a month in the gym, and losing that money. You're just losing that money versus working a job which keeps you active, which keeps you doing all this stuff, and you're playing around like that. Simple as that. And there you go. You don't have to worry about all that. And also, if you can kind of eat healthier and all that stuff. Health is a big, big issue. And if you're just sitting around, sleeping, watching TV for 5 hours, sleeping for 2 hours, watching more TV for 5 hours, and then going to bed, it's going to feel great for a while. It really is. But your health is going to suffer because you're not getting out. You're not moving. You're not moving kind of deal. And if you have some kind of a job, it forces you to move. And in my opinion, I think you should work until you drop. That's just me. You do hear about it. You hear about people. They worked for since 20 to 65. And then they get out and they sit around for a week or two. And your body's like, oh, we're doing this? Okay. Flatline. Your body's like, okay, we're giving up. Okay, whatever, what happened to Phil? Well, he retired at 65. We had the ice cream and the cake and all that stuff. And then, he dropped in like 2 months. After that, I don't know. The guy should have kept on working. Doing something stupid, kept on working, staying on some kind of schedule, and then his body would have been like, "Oh no, we're still going. Okay, we're still running down this path. Okay, we're still going. We're just running a little bit slower, but we're still running down this path. We still got to keep everything up and running, because it happens. I mean, you hear it all the time. Somebody will retire, and with a couple months, they'll drop, and it's like, I mean, whatever. But I figure a part of that is your body has been like, oh, we're not moving anymore. We're not doing anything anymore. Okay. We're eating all day. Okay. What are we going to do about this? Everything's spiking because all we're doing is eating potato, like 8 bags of potato chips all day while we binge shows. Yeah. And there you go. And eventually stuff's going to happen. But I always figure if you're actually working, okay, you can watch a little bit of stuff, you can do a little bit of stuff, and maybe you still do stay active, but you're forcing yourself to stay active. But you got to ask yourself, getting off tangent here, this thing's getting a little bit long. What's your idea of retirement? And when you plan on that, okay, how are you going to support yourself? How are you going to support others? How are you going to do all this? Like when I'm like 70, 65, 70, I'm going to get roommates. Do I need roommates? No. Do I like living alone? Or yeah. Do I like living there alone? Yes. Do I like all this stuff? Yes, I love it. But I want roommates. Because what roommates do for you, and I'm going to charge stupid rent. I'm going to keep people in here. I'm going to keep people fighting over it. But that's what it is I want to have roommates. The reason I want to have roommates when I'm older is when I'm like another 15, 20 years, I want to have roommates because roommates can watch over you. Maybe I do roommates, but the roommates or you, it'll be like today's money would be like $200. I'm going to charge you $200 worth of rent, but I need you to keep everything clean, keep the house clean and do this. And just not be a maid, but be like a live-in person. But when rent's like $1,200, $200 is going to be a steal, and people are going to jump on that. I guarantee you, people that are seeing this right now would be like, "I'd take that deal." Just keep the house clean and let me do my own stuff. But they're basically watching over you at 65, 70. You basically had those people watching over you, and you don't have to have no live-in nurse. You don't have to have no live-in whatever. You just have roommates that are there to keep everything tidy and, do their own thing. Whatever, do their own thing, but they're roommates. And that's my plan, is to have roommates when I'm older. And that way, if maybe I do fall down the stairs or something, maybe I do whatever, something happens, maybe I burn my hand or whatever, somebody will be here kind of deal. Versus living when you're 85, 70 and, God, what was that movie called? There was a movie called We Care a Lot. Yeah, it was called We Care a Lot. I think it was on Netflix. Anyway, the movie We Care a Lot. They came to this person's house. She was totally competent. There we are. And she was easily within her means, but they got a court order and they declared her crazy or whatever. And yeah, they took the house, they took the cars, they took everything, sold it all. And they were able to do that. And I don't want to be in that situation. But if I'm like 70 years old, that might happen. But if I had roommates there, and all that stuff, they gotta, no. No, we're not letting you take the house, the cars, and all this. We live here kind of deal. So it's not a perfect plan, but that's basically my plan when I do get up in age to do that. And you never know. Everybody's talking about AI and this and that and saying that if you can make it another 10 or 15 years, we'll live forever and whatever. Another reason why I try to live as healthy as I can is if stuff does happen and whatever, we do end up living longer than whatever, we can do that. That's another thing. Retirement, everybody thinks retirement, they're going to start at 65 and they're going to stop at 90. It don't always work like that. Doesn't always work like that. Sometimes you can be 90 and you can have another 10 years to go. Yeah. Then you figure out what you got to do there. But you completely run out of everything and everything gets down to zero. Plus, you never know. Maybe stuff doubles or triples, and then maybe the cost of everything doubles and triples before you get to 90. Another reason why I think working a job is a huge benefit, because as everything goes up, supposedly, wages will go up with that, and you'll be able to live on that. You got to come up with a plan, come up with a whole deal. But if everything goes up and you're actually working a job, and maybe those wages don't go up, we're in a position where wages don't go up as high as inflation goes up, but maybe there's a correction there and it does, or whatever. I don't know. I can't predict the future. Maybe in 10 years, we got robots and we got AI and everybody's dead. Who knows? You can't. Who knows? But you got to plan for things and kind of have that in the back of your mind. Even if all it is doing a transfer of $50 a week into an account. And you just forget about it. $50 a week into an account. You forget about it. And then if something does happen, you got that account to pull from. And if nothing does happen, you could take that amount, that $2,500, $5,000, whatever, and throw it into something and start building again. And that's the game. You just start building again, start building again, start building again. And then you throw these things in there and just forget about it. And when you need it, it's there. And if you don't need it, it's there. Kind of deal. I live crazy cheap. I always have, always will. If you ask me how much, like, I don't even need to live on $6. My plan from which I was 20 was to live on the $400 a week is what I need, which sounds crazy to some people. Oh my God, my rent's $3,000. How do you live on $400? I live below my means. I just do. It's crazy, right? How do you live below your means? Easy. You stay a little bit disciplined. You don't buy the things, and you ask yourself before you buy something, like a car, like something big, like a car or a house or maybe a gaming system. Can I do this better? Can I buy this better? Do I have to buy this new? Is there a better way to do this? Before you do that, and if you ask yourself, simply stop and ask yourself, do I want to spend $80,000 on this Cadillac? Or do I want to spend 20 in 2 years? Or do I want to buy one that's 3 years old for 20? Somebody's going to say, there's no way. Well, now you got time to look. You got time to research. You got time to think about everything before you just jump into the 80. And then, you also got to throw insurance on that. So you got to ask yourself, is this $80,000 Cadillac going to have stupid high insurance? And then what's that going to cost? Or do I want to go with the one that's maybe 4 years old? What's the insurance on that? Well, that thing only retails for like $35, and then they're going to total it. So insurance is probably going to be lesser on the other one. It's not perfect. It's not perfect, but if you just wait and ask yourself, can I do this better? Is there a better way? Before just going out and doing that. I don't go out to eat a lot. I do not. It's very rare that I go out to eat. I do treat myself every now and then. Every now and then I treat myself, but it's rare. Because I ask myself, man, I want some Taco Bell. Say what you want to say. Man, I want a Crunchwrap right now. I want a Crunchwrap so bad. And then I ask myself, well, a Crunchwrap is basically tortilla, some eggs, and some meat and cheese. I can build that. I can build that for like a quarter of the price. I go to Myers or whatever. I like going to Myers. It's Michigan. I'm from Michigan. Myers is a common thing. Go to Myers, grab some eggs, grab some whatever, grab some whatever. Make me a nice thick Crunchwrap. Throw it on the griddle. Get those burns in there. And within 10 minutes, and back at the house within 10 minutes, I got me a Crunchwrap made by me for a quarter of the price. And then I got leftover eggs, and I got leftover cheese, and I got leftover, maybe not sausage. I tend to be heavy on the side. Dump like a pound of sausage in the Crunchwrap. But there you go, kind of deal. And you made your own, and you did it for like a quarter of the price. And you got some leftover stuff. So actually you went, a little bit better on that. But I always ask myself that. And that's how you stay below your means. As if you just think about it. Before you actually do it, you think, is there a better way to do this? Or do I want the convenience? Sometimes, it's just better to just go to the thing, get the thing, and be happy. Do the convenient thing. Okay. But like I plan out my movies. And the thing about that too, I have it's a Celebration Cinema. I'm from Michigan. It's Celebration Cinema. Celebration Cinema, the ticket's like $22. The food's probably another like $30. And it's like 30 miles away. So you got gas, that's probably another $15, $20. So yeah, let's call it $80 for this movie. Or I have a theater that's local to me. For $20, I can get a ticket. I can get a pretzel. I also never eat pretzels, but you're treating yourself. I can get 2 pretzels, come to think of it. 2 pretzels, a ticket, and a drink for $20. $20. And it's not an amazing experience. I got Dolby 8.1 in the theater, but it's not like IMAX, or it's not like super. I don't have the butt massaging seats at this theater. They're nice seats, but they don't have the relaxing and the butt massage and the heater and all that stuff in the seats. They don't have all that. And honestly, if I get in that seat and lay back in that seat, 98% of the time, I fall asleep within about 20 minutes and I miss the whole show. So it's kind of better to be in that, be in that little seat that's not as nice. The seat's not as nice, but for $20 versus $80, I can watch the same movie on a Friday night when it first comes out. I'll be doing it in probably a week here. I'm going to watch, I make my list of movies. I got 2 movies this year. You're going to judge me. I got Tron Ares and I got Zootopia. Those are my 2 movies that I want to watch this year. So yeah, I'll be doing it. I think it comes out next week. I'll be going to the little thing here. And I'll be going to that and doing that. And only spending $20 because that's the better way. It's local to me. I don't have to spend a whole bunch of time. I don't have to spend a whole bunch of gas. I don't have to turn it in from a 3-hour thing into a 4 or 5-hour thing. And then you still got to eat. Like, I'm still going to want to actually do something because now I'm in town. So I'll probably end up spending closer to 120 instead of just 20 at the one. Where I can do it, I can go home after we're act and maybe make myself some dinner. But I usually do treat myself to the things because they're so cheap. But it's one of those things where I can't make it for what they charge. But it is what it is. But that's how I treat myself. But I always ask myself that. Always ask myself, can I do this better? Before you actually do anything at all. I always ask myself, can I do this better? And on the flip side of that, sometimes you do got to spend money. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to actually do that. Sometimes instead of buying the used TV, it's better just to buy another TV if it's cheap enough or if it makes sense, kind of deal. These days it's cheaper to buy a brand new whatever Walmart TV for whatever than it is to buy one that's used off Facebook, because you're only going to spend like because you're only going to save probably like $30, and you're going to have to drive across town, meet with the person, screw around, spend the gas, and do all that stuff. So it doesn't always make sense, but you got to ask yourself before you do all that, is there a better way? And same deal in retirement, getting back to that. This is becoming long as hell. Getting back to that, is there a better way to do this? Like I'm saying, you can do whatever you want, but maybe you do a part-time job on that. And maybe all that part-time job is cheers being all squeaky. All that part-time job is shooting videos 4 times a day, making content 4 times a day. Maybe that's your idea of retirement, is I'm going to do nature trails every day, and I'm going to walk 2 miles of nature trails all across the country every single day. And that's your idea of retirement. And you're going to do that rain or shine or whatever, or snow and all that. And people would love watching that. They would love experiencing what you're seeing, especially if you were doing this using like glasses. If you were doing this wearing glasses where they could see through your eyes what you're seeing as you're going through the trail. Maybe you see some deer, maybe you see some foxes and all this stuff as you're walking on this trail. Recommended you, if you do that, you're going to do that with 2 people. But Bill and Jane Bill and Jane walk nature trails, and that's your whole channel, and people would go to that and watch that, and because you're traveling the country doing these trails, and you go state to state doing that. Maybe that's somebody's idea of retirement, but on the other side, instead of just doing that, you ask yourself, can I do this better? How do you do this better? Well, you make it into a channel or a YouTube show or maybe some kind of other show or a blog, if you want to be old school. And you figure out a way to make something better out of that than just the one thing. And there you go. Maybe that's your idea of retirement. Maybe your idea of retirement is going on cruise ships. And that's your entire deal, is going on cruise ships. And I don't know if cruise ships have a policy against this. I do not do cruise ships much. I've only done like 4. But I don't know if cruise ships allow you to have the selfie cameras and all that stuff. But if they did, then you could be like, yeah, here we are. I'm in the cruise ship. We're going to see the show. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Once again, that might be more of a glasses dealie. We're going to do this on the cruise ship and play around on the cruise ship. And show, this weekend we're going on Disney's whatever cruise ship. We're going to experience it. And then you make a 1-hour video out of that, experiencing the cruise ship. Maybe you do it an hour a day and people watch it. And then, maybe you can make a little bit of change in that long run. Whatever. That's your idea. If it works, it works. I'm doing this whole content, or I'm saying content because that's just something off the top of my head where I can think. But there's other things. Maybe you do a business. Maybe you do a storage thing. That's also another one where I was like, I wanted to do a storage thing. And maybe you do a storage thing where you just do maybe an auction stuff off as an auctioneer. That's another one where I might do it later on. Be not the auctioneer, but be one of the other guys that works with the auctioneer. And you can be doing that when you're older. And simple like that. And maybe you enjoy doing that. Going around the state, selling estate sale stuff. And just to experience it. Being around the state and doing all this other stuff. I can't fill in the blank here. But what I can fill in is ask yourself, can I do this better? Is there a way to not only do this, not only do it, but do it better for that end goal? Yeah. And my life's not perfect, I'm not trying to be perfect, but I'm not saying this is what you do. Listen to me, I've been doing this forever. I know all the answers and everything and all this. No, I screw up left and right. I screw up left, right, up and down. That's part of the fun. Not knowing is part of the fun. But at the end of the day, you can ask yourself, before you do something, before you just go to the car dealership and buy the car, you can ask yourself, is there a better way to do this? Wow, slinged my words there. Is there a better way to do this than what I'm actually doing? Is there a better way to buy this vehicle than going right to the dealership? Is there a better way to, and is there a better way to use the vehicle once I do have it to maybe figure out what I can do with this vehicle? I didn't just buy this house. I bought this house with the intent of running a business out of it, and getting a whole bunch of deductions through that business and also all that. But I didn't just go out and buy this house with the big garage and the big thing just to work on vehicles. I bought the house with the big cars and the big all this to work on things, to also run a business out of it, and then do that and that and that. And just pretty much sit on it and wait for it to build equity and all that stuff. And I didn't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. But there you go. I had a can I do this better plan from the start. I didn't just go out and do that kind of deal. So simple as that. So anyway, I got my alarm telling me I got to wrap things up. And I keep tight schedules and all that stuff. So anyway, this became too long. I'm sorry it's so long. I try to keep these things 7 to 15 minutes, but this was a big topic that I felt had to be talked about. And, it's Sunday night. This is Sunday night if you're watching this later. And, good thing to talk about and go over and maybe get some people moving off of a path, or even just simply asking themselves, I can do this better than what I'm doing. And that can apply to almost everything. So there you go. That apply to everything, but basically, you got to start thinking about retirement. It happens. I know people are going to be like YOLO and all that stuff. I mean, YOLO's good in the moment, but YOLO ends. You only live once. You only live once. Well, that life ends. So, and then what you're left with is issues. Let's just go with issues. So, have a plan, be ready, and just ask yourself, what am I doing for retirement? So, see you, folks.